Hi Jason, my name's Paul Towers and I'm sending this question in from Sydney, Australia. I'm a massive fan of the show and really do like the Ask Jason segments. Whenever a company closes its doors, as was the case with Zirtual the other day, I think it offers a great chance for other entrepreneurs to learn some insights about what went wrong and to see how they can avoid similar situations in the future within their own startup. With that in mind, I would be interested to hear your thoughts on the following two questions. Number one, when a company is running low on cash and short on runway, how should they balance the need for being positive and upbeat in order to attract new capital and investors with their requirement to be honest to all stakeholders, including customers, employees, and as well as the investors? Obviously, they need to paint that positive and upbeat picture to attract the capital, but there is a requirement, obviously, to be honest with employees and customers so that they can, plan for the future, essentially. Two, when a company sees their margins decrease, as was the case with Zirtual, when they moved their ZAs from contractors to employees, should that entrepreneur or founder focus on trying to grow their way out of trouble? For example, Zirtual was looking at that 24-hour service as well as the team service. Or should they limit their focus to the current product or service that they have and look to identify and fix any problems that are present there, even if that comes at the expense of growth? Thanks, Jason, for your insights on those two questions. Look forward to watching many more episodes of Twist. Thank you.
Okay, great question. A timely question, of course. I've been dealing with the Zirtual issues for the last couple of days. What I will say is, as a disclaimer and generally, I'm an investor in the company. I'm an angel investor in the company. I don't speak for the company. Even now that it's defunct and sold, I am not a spokesperson for the company. And some people think angel investors are hanging out at the companies they invest in every day. In fact, we never go to their offices, almost never. We meet with the founders, typically one-on-one, or do phone calls or emails, and we help where we can. But the whole idea of being an angel is that you're not operational inside the company. Okay, that being said, I have an opinion on everything. As you know, that's why you tune into the show. And I'm going to tell you my opinion on what happened with Zirtual. I'm going to tell you my opinion to your two or three great questions there. Let's work backwards. When Zirtual went to full-time employees, obviously that's going to cause massive margin compression. They were adding 30% of expense. So if you pay somebody $30,000 a year, if you add benefits, time off, paid time off, and healthcare, you're looking at roughly adding 20-30% to your costs. Now, if you have a 20-30% margin, now you're going to be in the red in all likelihood. And what it also means is that, you're going to have to charge more. So what I think Zirtual should have done is, when they moved everybody to full-time, I think, listen, this is hindsight is 2020, they should have just said to the customer base, hey, listen, we're charging $25 an hour for the service. It's going to go to $30 an hour. We're raising prices, 10%, 20%. In that case, it would be 20%, right? 10% of $25 would be $2.50, so 20% would be $5. So we're going to raise it $5 an hour or $7.50 an hour. And if you can't do it at that price, we understand, but we want to have benefits for our employees. Now, there's a big question of, did they have to do that, and will the new owners go with contractors or will they go with full-time employees? According to what they've said openly on the web, the new Zirtual, under new ownership, will be using contractors, and I think that's probably a good idea. I think that this might have been one of the big problems with the business. Obviously, again, hindsight is 2020. I will also say that people loved the product, and people who worked at the company loved the company. So what did the company get right? It's important for us to look at that when we're doing this re-examination of the failure. One, they built a product that people love. Two, they built a job and a culture and a company that people loved working for. Wow, it's two of the three stools, right? And the third is they have to have a functional management team that is on top of things. That's the piece of the puzzle that was not finished. And so I applaud the company for getting two out of the three things right. But boy, is it brutal and hard that they didn't get their corporate governance. They had a small board, two people, the founder and one person who was an investor, and they didn't have their finance right. Now, on to your first question. When should you tell employees, clients, customers, etc., that there are problems? Well, number one, you should always be super transparent with everybody who's an investor, including me, and let us know exactly how much runway you have. That's why when I invest in a company, I ask them to give me a monthly report, and I want the first line to be how much money is in the bank account and how much they're burning every month, and divide the two numbers so I can see exactly how many months of runway they have. An investor can do nothing when you come to them with 1 month of runway. If you come to them with 2 months of runway, they might be able to get you a bridge financing. They might be able to help you wind the business down. You really need to start looking 3 months out, 4 months out. In this case, I think they probably, and again, hindsight 2020, they probably didn't go to enough investors, and they probably relied on the word of investors saying, hey, we're going to do this. And I see it happen all the time with entrepreneurs. And let me tell entrepreneurs right now super clearly, unless you have a signed term sheet, and even if you have that, it might not come through. Unless you have the money in the bank, it's not closed. So you want to make sure that, if you're going to consider an investment closed, the money is in the bank account. The paperwork is signed. If it's not signed paperwork and the money is not in the bank account, it's not closed. Now, when do you tell customers? I don't think you have to tell customers that you're running low on cash. I don't think they care necessarily. But you certainly, if they're reliant on the service, you have a little bit of a higher order duty, I think, because they may have they may need some time to switch. In terms of employees, you got to be honest with employees, and you got to tell them the truth. And what happens is they will rally for you. So if you look at the Zirtual situation, if they had gone to employees 60 days ago, 90 days ago, and said, hey, we have this much capital left, and the business is not yet profitable, here is what we're going to do, or here is what we think is going to happen, those 400 ZAs, who are very, very good people and who are very spirited people, they would have actually, I think, helped figure out the problem. They would have said, hey, maybe some group of them would have said, hey, I'm willing to take equity and not get this benefit. Or maybe they would have said, I'm willing to invest in the company. Or I know somebody who wants to invest in the company. Or maybe they would have said, I know my clients will pay more. I talked to my client and I floated the idea of them paying $35 an hour and they were cool with it. Or I want to be a 1099 contractor and I want to set my own rate. What if Zirtual let people set their own rates and just took 20%, like some other services do? So there were a lot of different options, and I think those options didn't get explored because there wasn't enough transparency. And that's on the founder, Marin, and I've talked to her actually about it, and I think she understands her mistake. So it's a bummer of a situation, but you do have to be honest with everybody at all times about where you're at. And it's no big deal. People who come to work at a startup or who use a startup service, they expect that the startup is going to always have, call it 2 to 12 months of runway. 2 to 12 months of runway. It's very common. So, it's a little bit scary that the company only had, X number of months of runway, but they just didn't manage the communication of that properly. So you nailed it in terms of your question. Great questions, and thank you for asking them.